مع إذاعة الجزائر الدولية لن تفوتكم لحظة واحدة من الأخبار السياسية والاقتصادية الهامة. إذاعة الجزائر الدولية، صوتنا في العالم.
العالم يتغير وبسرعة، ونحن نتابع وبدقة نحاول الوصول إلى الحقيقة من مصدرها مباشرة. إذاعة الجزائر الدولية، صوتنا في العالم.
الدولية، فترة إخبارية صباحية ثرية ومتنوعة.
مراسلون ومحللون:
برنامج عبد الرحمن الحسين، عادل بلال،
ضيوف ومتحدثون
في السياسة والاقتصاد.
هي خطط استراتيجية فقط،
يعني لما تعصف باستقرار المملكة قبل أي دولة أخرى.
وجميعا شاركنا بهذه الحكومة دون
التكنيك لونكادرمون تاع الاغريكولتور، يعني
كثير من المتعاملين الاقتصاديين استثمروا في ولاية بسكرة.
في الثقافة والرياضة،
موقع السينما في الجزائر، وقع التمويل.
القرآن قال لابد من الصلح على المستوى القضائي.
أنا كان في ضررية كجزائريين احنا ما نشوفش لي ميداي،
كانوا رايحين يعموا هذه الخطة، كانت رايحة صحيح
من الجزائر ومن العالم.
الدولية في قلب الأحداث.
With Radio Algeria International, you will not miss a single major political or economic event. Radio Algeria International, our voice in the world.
This is the English service of Radio Algeria International. It's time for the news.
The President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmadjid Tebboune, has received the Speaker of the National Assembly of the Republic of Slovenia, Urška Klakorak Supavic, who's on a three-day official working visit to Algeria. Algeria has participated in New York at the invitation of China and Brazil in a ministerial meeting on the launch of the Group of Friends for Peace. And in Lebanon, the Israeli army has pursued for the sixth day running its pounding of several areas of the country, including the capital Beirut, killing and wounding scores of people. Those were the headlines, and now the news in detail from Radio Algeria International. Joining me today in the reading of this news bulletin, my colleague Majid Mila. Hello, Majid.
Hi, Mohammed.
First in our news, the President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmadjid Tebboune, has received messages from several heads of state and government congratulating him for his re-election for a second term in office. The President of Montenegro, Mr. Jak Milatovic, congratulated the President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmadjid Tebboune, on his re-election for a second term, assuring that the relations of friendship and cooperation and the historical ties between the two countries undoubtedly constitute a solid foundation on which the two countries will continue to build and develop their relations and will continue to strengthen overall cooperation in the future in the interest of the two peoples. Earlier, the President of the Republic of Malawi, Mr. Lazarus McCarthy Chakwera, congratulated President Tebboune, stressing that his victory expresses confidence of the Algerian people in his ability to preside over the country. Similar messages of congratulations were also sent by King William Alexander of the Netherlands, the Prime Minister of the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia, Mr. Abiy Ahmed Ali, the President of the Republic of Cameroon, Mr. Paul Biya, and the President of the Republic of Kenya, William Samoei Ruto. Over to you, Majid.
Yeah, Mohammed, Algeria has definitively turned the page regarding its membership of the BRICS, even though it is a member of the group's bank. The Daily Al Mujahid quoted government sources as saying the Algerians' reaction came in response to rumors according to which the BRICS member countries had once again requested Algeria to join the group, while questioning the truth behind rumors stating that Algeria was in a pole position in the group's future enlargement. The newspaper wrote in its editorial that the reasons that prompt Algeria to turn its back on the conglomerate were simple and logical at the same time, while Algerians' exclusion at the Johannesburg summit meeting held in August 2023, during which 6 new members were admitted, was lacking plausible arguments that justify such a decision. To everyone's surprise, the Algerian file was withdrawn at the last minute, observed Al Mujahid, which noted a blatant inconsistency both in content and form. It went on to say that Algeria, considered the largest country in Africa, has no foreign debt, possesses huge mineral and energy resources and an infrastructure, and an infrastructure envied by the entire continent, highlighting Algeria's economic performance, which has been praised by the IMF and the World Bank. The newspaper stressed that the BRICS, which introduced itself as a world economic alternative, had chosen to ignore such a performance. Al Mujahid affirmed in its editorial that Algeria's exclusion was rather the result of political maneuvers than a decision taken according to economic criteria, given that Algeria's adhesion was vetoed by one member country of the BRICS under the influence of a Gulf state. Al-Mujahid stressed that Algeria, which has always pleaded the multipolarity in international relations and for restoration of a multi-party cooperation, would continue to defend its choices in with its BRICS allies within other frameworks such as the UN Security Council, the Group of 77 and the non-aligned movement. Back to you, Mohammed.
And the President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, has received here in Algiers the Speaker of the National Assembly of the Republic of Slovenia, Urška Klakočar-Supavić, who is on a 3-day official visit to Algeria at the end of a large delegation. The meeting was held in the presence of the Speaker of the People's National Assembly, Ibrahim Boughali, the Director of the Presidency's Office, Boualem Boualem, and the Secretary General of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Lunas Magraman. Earlier, the Slovenian official was received by the Speaker of the Council of the Nation, Salah Gujil. Speaking to the press at the end of her meeting with Mr. Gujil, the Speaker of the National Assembly of the Republic of Slovenia said that her country and Algeria have strengthened bilateral relations at all levels, hailing Algeria's show of solidarity, which renewed its gas supply to this friendly country. Let's listen to her.
Slovenia and Algeria are two like-minded countries, are friends. We have strengthened the relationship between our two countries on all levels. Firstly, on political level and on economic level, we have renewed the gas supply of Algerian gas to Slovenia, which was really a great help and a show of solidarity of Algeria to Slovenia. According to that, all the other economic fields are also developing. So we are two countries that are working together closely in the economical field.
Ms. Supancic also highlighted the two countries' common vision on various regional and international questions, notably the Palestinian issue, reiterating her country's recognition of the State of Palestine.
We also shared the same views on external relations, on foreign policy, which is very important. Slovenia is a non-permanent member of the Security Council of the United Nations and stands firmly for world peace, for the recognition of the resolutions of the United Nations, and calls for immediate stop to the war in the Middle East. We are very concerned of what is happening in the Middle East, in Gaza, and we have condemned the atrocities that are happening to the Palestinian people. Slovenia has recognized a Palestinian state as a sovereign and independent state, and the parliament has adopted this decision in June this year, and the decision was adopted quickly. So what is very important is that we stay together, that we are firm and strong, and that we call for the recognition and obedience of international law.
It's worth recalling that the Speaker of the National Assembly of the Republic of Slovenia was received by the Speaker of the National People's Assembly, Ibrahim Boughali, who welcomed her upon her arrival at Algiers International Airport. The visit, which follows an official invitation as part of the strengthening of privileged relations between the two countries or legislative bodies, constitutes an opportunity to strengthen relations between the two countries and to examine ways and means to promote joint cooperation in various fields. Now, the Minister of Oil of the Republic of Niger, Sahabi Omaro, has started a working visit to Algeria as part of the strengthening of cooperation relations between the two countries in the field of energy, particularly hydrocarbons. A statement issued by the Ministry of Energy and Mines indicated that Mr. Omaro's visit at the head of a large delegation made up of officials and executives from the Prime Ministry, the Nigerian hydrocarbon sector, and the Nigerian oil company is part of the mutual desire to open new prospects for the development of relations between the two countries. The same source stressed that these relations are experiencing constant and notable development thanks to the visits exchanged by senior officials of the two countries with a view to implementing cooperation programs and finalizing joint development projects, in particular the Sonatrach Research and Exploration Project and the Trans-Saharan Gas Pipeline Project. This visit follows that made by the Minister of Energy and Mines, Mohamed Arqab, to the Republic of Niger on August 6 and 7, 2024. The program of the visit of the Nigerian Minister of Petroleum to Algeria includes several meetings, in particular with the Minister of Energy and Mines and officials, as well as visits to certain energy facilities and training institutes in the sector. Over to you, Majid.
Thanks, Mohammed. The Minister of Foreign Affairs at the National Community Abroad, Ahmed Attaf, has pursued his talks with several of his counterparts in New York on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly. Mr. Attaf met the Brazilian Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mauro Vieira, the Venezuelan Minister of Foreign Affairs, Ian Pinto, the Kuwaiti Minister of Foreign Affairs, Abdullah Ali Al Yahya, the Bosnia-Herzegovina Minister of Foreign Affairs, Al-Madin Konakovic, the Ukrainian Minister of Foreign Affairs, Andriy Sybiha, and the U.S. Under-Secretary of State for Political Affairs, John Bass. Mr. Attaf's talks with his Brazilian counterpart focused on ways of strengthening bilateral relations and to examining of the main international and regional issues. During the meeting between Mr. Attaf and his Venezuelan counterpart, the two parties welcomed the positive result achieved in bilateral cooperation in the light of the progress made in the implementation of the conclusion of the fourth mission of the Joint Commission held in June 2023 in Caracas. They also praised the quality of political consultation and bilateral coordination on a number of international and regional issues based on the two countries' commitment to the principles of international law and the values of the United Nations Charter. During his talks with the Kuwaiti Foreign Minister, the two sides hailed the privileged level of bilateral relations at the political level and examined ways of strengthening and promoting the economic cooperation, notably through the holding of the Algerian-Kuwaiti Joint Commission as soon as possible. With Djibouti's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Attaf examined the prospects for developing bilateral cooperation in various fields and strengthening the coordination within the framework of the African Union. The minister also discussed with the Foreign Minister of Bosnia-Herzegovina the prospects for consolidating the bilateral relations by strengthening mutual diplomatic representation and promoting bilateral cooperation in the field of energy and other economic sectors. The meeting with the Ukrainian Foreign Minister was an opportunity to examine the developments in the Ukrainian crisis and to examine ways of strengthening the political dialogue and promoting economic relations between the two countries. The Minister of Foreign Affairs and the U.S. Under-Secretary of State also praised the remarkable level of political dialogue existing between Algeria and the United States, highlighting the significant progress made as part of the economic cooperation existing between the two countries. Again, back to you, Mohammed.
Algeria has participated in New York at the invitation of China and Brazil in a ministerial meeting on the launch of the Group of Friends for Peace set up by the countries of the South for the resolution of the Ukrainian crisis. During the meeting, the permanent representative of Algeria to the United Nations, Ammar Benjama, underlined Algeria's support for such a comprehensive and constructive initiative aimed at ending Ukraine conflict as soon as possible, in line with the principles and objectives of the UN Charter and taking into account the legitimate security concerns of both parties. Co-chairing the meeting with the special envoy of the Brazilian president in New York, Celso Amorim, Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi said that the Group of Friends for Peace was not a closed group but an open platform destined neither to competition nor confrontation but to inclusive dialogue. The ministerial meeting culminated in the adoption of a joint declaration by 13 countries in which they agreed to continue consultations at various levels with all parties. In addition, the permanent representatives of the countries that had joined the Group of Friends for Peace were called upon to strengthen common positions in support of international efforts towards a lasting peace. And in Lebanon, the Israeli army has pursued for the sixth day running its pounding of several areas of the country, including the capital Beirut, killing and wounding scores of people. According to the Lebanese Health Ministry, about 40 people were killed and over 190 others wounded for the past 24 hours in the attacks which targeted several villages and municipalities in the country's eastern and southern parts. It's stressed that the attacks during which the Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah was killed had claimed over 1,640 lives since the Israeli army launched its large-scale operations on Gaza nearly 1 year ago. In this connection, Prime Minister Najib Mikati today affirmed that nearly 1 million had been displaced on account of Israel's acts of aggression. In a statement made at the end of an emergency meeting on the government, he said that such a displacement could be considered the most important in Lebanon's history. He reiterated that his government's priority was now to put an end to Israel's attacks through diplomacy that remains the only option. Earlier, the army urged the population to safeguard the national unity and not to be driven into actions likely to undermine peace during such a dangerous period. Meanwhile, Iran called for an emergency meeting of the UN Security Council and the Islamic Cooperation Council to examine the latest developments in Lebanon. This came as the World Food Programme launched an emergency operation destined to provide aid to the 1 million Lebanese displaced by the Israeli acts of aggression. And 4 Palestinians have been killed and several others have been injured in Zionist bombing that targeted a school sheltering displaced people in Beit Lahia, north of the Gaza Strip. The Zionist army has targeted many schools sheltering displaced people in recent months, committing massacres against civilians there, especially women and children. According to the latest statistics released a few days ago by the Gaza Media Office, the Zionist army has killed more than 133 Palestinians by targeting 183 centers sheltering displaced people since October 7. The vast majority of the Gaza Strip's 2.4 million people have been displaced at least once since October 7, with many seeking shelter in school buildings. And finally, in Nepal, at least 126 people have died and 63 are missing following flooding and landslides caused by torrential rain, notably in the capital, Kathmandu. Large areas of the eastern and central parts of the country have been flooded since Friday. Rivers have experienced flash floods, causing widespread damage and loss of life. Nepal's National Disaster Risk Reduction Authority raised the death toll to 126, with 63 people missing. More than 3,000 people have been deployed to help with the rescue operations, using helicopters, motorboats, and inflatable boats. The Interior Ministry spokesman Rishi Tam Tiwari said that more than 3,000 people had been rescued in the country. And with this last piece of news, we come to the end of this news bulletin. Time now for our weekly program, the International Event of the Week. So have a good listen, and we'll meet you again tomorrow for a fresh edition of our news bulletin in English. Until then, stay tuned to Radio Algeria International, and bye-bye for now.
The International Event of the Week.
This week was marked by an